She embarked on a very intensive training program for herself and actually studied biodynamic gardening and apprenticed at the Green Gulch Farm and completed the agroecology program at the University of California at Santa Cruz, which is a very wonderful program. And today, 120 prisoners a day work on the 7-acre organic farm, learning to cultivate their own lives as they grow fruits and vegetables that feed homeless people and people with AIDS through Project Open Hand. 100 prisoners are on a waiting list to get into the horticulture program that she runs. She is also aligned and connected with the San Francisco Department of Public Works and has students that not only are growing organic produce, but are also involved with planting trees throughout the city of San Francisco. So she's actually restoring some of the biological fabric of the city, as well as the people, as well as the foods and the homeless. And it's really a remarkable connective project that she does. So please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Cathrine Sneed.
I'm glad to be here, actually. I'd like to tell you about our project. I started it with the help of a lot of people, the prisoners, as well as people that have come through in a lot of different ways saying they wanted to help. What really is, for me, the most important part of our project is that we have people who are in need of restoration. And the people that are in need of restoration are the ones that are working very hard to restore themselves, but also to restore their neighborhoods, to restore their communities, to restore their families. That's very important to me. The project has 3 parts. The first is the program in the jail. We've grown a lot of food that we've given to soup kitchens and senior centers and community centers. But in growing food and giving the food to these places, I think that's what's helped to restore the prisoners and the participants in the program, because they're able to give something, they're able to give of themselves. And over the years, people have asked me, well, why don't we sell the food instead of giving it to the community centers? And I think that's probably one of the most important things to do, because you do have to give to live. And in giving the food that the people work very hard to grow, they begin to care about themselves, they begin to care about other people. Most of the people that are in our jails and prisons throughout the country are there because they're poor. They're there because they've sold and used drugs. Unfortunately, they're there, for a lot of reasons, because they're people of color. Because if many of the people in this audience used the same drugs, they wouldn't end up in San Quentin. That's just a fact. In growing the food for the soup kitchens and growing food that we give to the jail to feed the people, they begin to learn about their bodies. They begin to learn about health. I've over the years always asked people, when you got arrested, what were you eating? What kind of food were you eating? And generally they say the same thing. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the poor, when they get money now, they go to McDonald's. For sure, that's where they go. They take their kids there. And that's something that they are very proud to do. And what I'm seeing is more and more people who aren't eating food at home. They're not cooking food at home. But when they get that little bit of money, they're going to places like McDonald's. I believe, and I have concluded over the years, that this is why they're using drugs. This is why they're craving crack. It's because of their diet. And having talked to thousands of prisoners over the years, I'm positive that that's the case. They were not eating vegetables. Many of them have never eaten vegetables that didn't come out of a can or weren't frozen. We invite people from the community to come to the garden. We invite seniors to come, and they come in and they bring other people, and we're very glad to be able to say, we'll pick those vegetables for you. But also, what happens at the Garden Project, while the seniors are picking the vegetables, what happens is the seniors see the same people that maybe were on the corner trying to take their purses or knock them out and rob them. They see the same people now giving back and trying to help. And that changes something for them. I know for the prisoners begin to see and feel badly about what they have done in order to support their habit and preying on other people. And the garden does that. Growing this food does that, I think. The other thing that the garden does is it offers a place for the parents who are in our program, and most people who are in jail and in prison are parents. Instead of leaving their children in the housing projects where they live to come to work, or making the decision, well, I can't come to work because I don't have childcare, they're able to bring their children to the garden, and the kids run through the garden and pull up everything. And I tell you, it makes it a little difficult to get everything out there sold, but it's well worth it. We're trying to teach people about nutrition, to teach people about health, and not just by lecturing to them, but by showing them. So we make food and eat it in the garden. We have lunches in the garden using the food that we grow. And people, the prisoners and the former prisoners, tease me quite a bit because they say, well, it's always vegetarian, don't you ever eat meat? But what they're doing is they're learning to eat vegetables, and it's something that really offers for them a way to feed their families, in addition to whatever they can come up with just on their own. The other part of our program is the Tree Corps, as Nina mentioned. The Tree Corps program was started as a way to deal with the fact that, again, in Bayview Hunters Point and in other places in San Francisco, we have streets with no trees, none. It took quite a bit to convince the Department of Public Works to allow the former prisoners to plant the trees. And so we've been doing that. We have now, this is the 5th year of having a contract with the city to plant the trees. But when we plant the trees, it makes a difference because the neighbors, the people that live in the community see people who need the jobs, who live in the place where the trees are being planted. They see them planting them. It's putting people to work. People bring a check home every week instead of relying on welfare or drug sales to survive. But I think more than all three of these things, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help people to see what's happening in our jails and in our prisons. And I'm not alone in this. A lot of people have done this all over the country. But what really disturbs me is that as citizens, we are allowing our government to spend an amazing amount of money to keep people, mostly people of color, in jail for really the crime of being poor. And I think there has to be a time where we say, as a community, where we say, you know, in order to heal our communities, we need to involve the people who have hurt the community. The other day, a man that I've known from the jail for the last, I think, 15 or so years, came to our office, and I said to him, his name is James, I said, James, you know, what's been up? What have you been up to? You know, I started telling him how the program had changed from the time when we were in the jail. So what's up with you? How's your family? He said, well, I don't see my family anymore. I said, well, that's too bad. He said, well, my son died in San Quentin in some gang fight. No, I remember his son. I said, so, but I haven't seen you in 10 or so years. What if, you know, where have you been? He said, oh, I've been in and out. I've been to state prison back and forth. I'm still not off parole. I mean, so in 10 years, this man has been on the street probably a total of 3 months, and then he's back. And James's crime is that James is addicted to crack. That's his crime. The money that we put into sending James back and forth to state prison for 10 years, that's a lot of money. I mean, we're talking $25,000, that's what some people say, or more when you can calculate what the person being in jail does to the family that's involved. There's no one bringing any money home.